Hey guys, what's up? So I had a request to do an indie pop type beat, which I'm not gonna lie, that doesn't usually make it into my normal beat making session, but I figured I would give it a shot. And so I made the beat already, and I'm gonna play it for you guys in just a second, and then I'm gonna do a breakdown and kind of show you guys my process of how I went about creating it. So hopefully this is a little bit entertaining and informative. And if you're new here, my name is Kay Hart. I do beat making videos, beat breakdown videos like this one, basically Ableton Live tutorial stuff. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, please feel free to hit that subscribe button at any time. Very much appreciated. And on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and play this beat for you, and then we'll do a breakdown. So let me go ahead and start off by explaining the structure I used kind of for this song. So basically I have an intro section here, which is 8 bars, and it goes into the chorus section, which is another 8 bars, into the verse, which is 8 bars, into this little 4-bar bridge section, and then back into the chorus, verse, and then just kind of continues from there. I didn't really finish it off, but that's the basic premise for this one. And I'll go ahead and start with the chords. So I'm basically just using Analog Labs for both of these. I have kind of a vintage synth sound for the first one. And you'll notice that my chords are like super, like just going up and down, and I did that intentionally just because I really wanted to get that kind of melody going. They're not really dynamic chords, they're all just kind of crunched together. I really wanted that up movement and then the down movement back. And this is in D Dorian scale, or mode, I should say, which is basically the same as the C major or A minor scale. It's just you start on D. So it's basically all the white keys. So those are the main chords that play throughout the entire song. I did layer them in the chorus section with, let's see what it is. This augmented voices preset, which kind of just gives it that dancey feel. Makes it sound different than the verse. Arturia tape Mellify on both of them just to give them a little more of that vintage feel and basically some extra drive because I wanted them to punch through a little bit better. And then I have them grouped with Isotope's Relay, which is kind of a cheap way to get some extra stereo width without actually panning it. So I just have it to about 66% to kind of push the chords out to the sides. So if you're listening on it with headphones versus like your phone, you'll be able to tell a difference. Okay, so for the vocal chops in this one, this is probably like the coolest part of this beat. I took a vocal sample from Splice, and I'll turn off all the effects on it for right now. And this is how it sounded when I downloaded it.
Oh, keep it from me. Oh.
I guess I still have it running through some reverb, but if I turn this back on, what I did was I put output thermal on it just to give it some extra drive and saturation. Really gives it some extra punch. Yeah, I love thermal. Very, very cool plugin. So I have that on there, and then what I did was I chopped this one section right here, and it sounds like this. And what I did was I put Soundtoys Crystallizer on it with this Longest Builder preset. Just upped the wet dry a little bit. And basically what this does is it creates a bunch of like kind of chopped up echoes of this sample. So if I play it for you guys. Just creates all these really cool different vocal nuances. And if I don't mute this, it's going to continue forever. But basically what I did was I made an audio track, set it to record, and then I went to Vox Sample, which is what this channel is labeled, and then just recorded that. And I took just about this much of the echoes that came from using Crystallizer, and then dragged this into a new simpler on this track. So this is basically that audio track of all those echoes, and then I chopped it up again. And there's some really cool little just some really cool slices that you can get out of that. And it's not, you know, it's not all usable, but there's some nice stuff in there, and it's a really cool and creative way to get, you know, vocal effects, chops. You can even make pads out of this. That would be pretty cool too. But just an interesting way to make vocal chops. So the next thing I have in here is my guitar, and not gonna lie, I was kind of lazy with this one, and I didn't actually use my real guitar. So I pulled up the Electric Sunburst from Native Instruments, which sometimes can sound kind of crappy. Like, it doesn't always sound that great. But I have it running through the VC76 compressor, and then this Tone King amplifier from Neural DSP, which really makes it sound nice. So this is what it sounds like with that on it and without it. Just kind of gives it a nice little shimmeriness, makes it sound a little more indie pop, I think. So yeah, just a pretty simple guitar lick that I put in here. A little bit syncopated, so it's not exactly, you know, on the beat, to give it a little more rhythm. And then, so that's the chorus one, and then I have a little bit different riff for the verse. And then I have the exact same guitar, same settings, everything. And this one is just kind of a counter melody to this. So I have these notes playing kind of against these. So when these ones are going up, these ones are going down, and they're kind of in matching thirds. So if you listen to these together. And honestly, that works pretty well. I have both of those centered in my track. I didn't pan either of them. I was worried I might have to, because a lot of times when you have, you know, similar instruments that are in a similar range like that, they'll kind of cancel each other out. But what I did actually was I lowered the velocity on these higher pitched notes, because they're going to be easier to hear anyway since they're higher pitched. So I just brought these down a little bit, and it actually makes the these lower pitched notes more audible and less phase cancel-y. Right, onto the bass. Bass is pretty simple. I just use a synth bass from, you guys probably know by now, Analog Lab 5, because I use the Arturia V collection for like everything. So pretty simple bass line, just kind of going up and following along with the guitar. And I did the same thing with the bass as the guitar, so I have two different 4-bar loops, I guess. So this is the chorus one, and then the verse. But yeah, you can see it sounds very similar to my guitar. And then for the processing on that, I just have low shelf over here, cutting off a little bit of those highs up there. Thermal, once again, because I was having trouble getting this bass to cut through. And thermal is like amazing. If you're having trouble getting anything to cut through a mix, slap this on your channel strip and it's coming through. Like, just go through the presets and then you can just fuss with those a little bit and it does wonders. So I have that on there, and then of course my compressor with a side chain to my kick drum. And on that note, we'll move down to the drums. So the drums, I have pretty simple kick pattern that plays throughout the whole song. And you'll notice it has that little like do, ch, ch. And that's actually coming from thermal again. So I'm using this preset, which I was having a lot of trouble mixing this kick and getting it to actually come through. And normally when that happens, that means you need to pick a different kick because it's clashing with your bass. So you need to either pick a higher frequency bass or a lower frequency bass, and then the opposite for your kick and your bass, and that will help you mix a little bit better. But I really liked this kick, and I was gonna freaking get it in there whether it wanted to or not. So I put thermal on there, and if I play the kick by itself, this one's actually pretty cool. It adds that little percussive effect, so if I turn it off, that's what it sounds like without it. Big difference. You just got to be careful though, because thermal has a very easy tendency to really distort stuff because it's a distortion plugin. So don't overdo it if that's not your vibe. So anyway, that's the kick for the entire song pretty much. And then for my main snare, I have just a pretty simple, easy snare there. And I use the snare actually in the choruses and the little breakdown in the middle. For the verses, I decided to use a clap. And what I did for the claps actually is, you'll see I have 3 different claps. And I made sure, like, I got all these samples off of Splice, but I made sure they all sounded similar. They're all just a little different though. It kind of gives it a little more realism if you don't want to record yourself clapping. So just look for samples that sound similar. And then of course you want to change the velocity on like everything, because if you're going for a live sounding anything really, you want to make sure that you're changing velocity and it's not all just at 100%. In this middle section here and the breakdown, I added just some toms. And then for my hats, so I just went through and really accented the beats on this one. I have one cymbal crash down here, kind of as a transition after the chorus. And then got kind of lazy and I even used the same cymbal hit down here as my riser to transition from the intro into the first chorus. So that one I didn't do any parallel processing with the reverb. I put ROM right on top of the channel strip. 100% wet, just so it's basically all reverb and it rings out a little bit better and it's not just like super abrupt. I think that does it for this one. If you guys enjoyed that, found anything entertaining, informative, if you shimmied a little bit, just go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, all that stuff down there. And if there's any type of content you're interested in, drop me a comment below and I'll see what I can do. Until then, take care.